SSG love coming out of the gate swinging. They get very aggressive on the attack, and that's what they start on, so OXG will have to counter that as we begin this op ban phase.
So Chalet, such an interesting map. And you know, it's kind of funny actually. When this map first came out is when we started to transition from a more defender-sided to a more attacker-sided overall meta. Initially, Chalet was that map. It was the tip of that spear. It was a very attacker-sided map. But in this stage, through the 2 times it's been played, it's actually been slightly defender-sided. So we're seeing some ebb and flow here, I guess you could say, some push and pull, some back and forth. Now, the 2 operators that'll be banned on the attack here are Flores and Nomad. Follow that up with a Hoamai ban, and I'm guessing a Mira, a Valkyrie, maybe a Maestro, something for information. Definitely on this defensive ban. One thing to note is we do have Zero in play, and Zero has been, as an operator, very influential on this map. I would argue that Chalet is really what brought him into the forefront of the meta for many teams. We're seeing him played on other maps now because the usefulness of Zero can be fully highlighted on Chalet. So with him in play, the bans being the way that they are, very interesting. We've got cams on both sides of that Zero and Valkyrie. And yeah, you don't usually see that on Chalet.
Other thing about this one to note is that SSG have already come to Chalet, I want to say once in this stage, but the cool part about that was it was Rampy playing a lot of Flores. And Rampy, as somebody who's been a bit of a discussion point because he and Fultz would usually be that very aggressive or very notable entry combo for Spacestation, but Rampy's role on attack does seem as though it shifted more in a flex capacity. He would run a lot of Flores, and that's something that they're no longer able to take advantage of in this matchup, but we'll see how he adjusts. In this case, it looks like the Yana is the play. Fultz will still maintain the primary entry role, so he'll still be stuck on the Zoph, and Hot and Cold rocking the trusty sledge. The thing that I think was the coolest part about his play when he played last stage for Mirage was that he was running a sledge, and we began to see Hot and Cold lean more away from just playing a very dedicated support operator. He did that on Dark Zero. He was very well renowned for it. He was the MVP of the major that they won last year because of his support play, but now he's in a sledge role, and honestly, it seems like he's been unstoppable is the wrong word. He's been extremely solid as he makes this transition to Space Station's roster.
Yeah, I think that we've seen his play not be quite as influential as it was on Mirage, but at the same time, different roles in a different team.
Yeah,
frankly,
the quality of teammates he has is infinitely better, you'd think. But
I don't know if I'd go that far. Okay, Mirage is a solid roster. I would say there are fewer kills to go around. How about that? Is that all right?
There you go.
Think that's a nice middle ground?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and going into this round, we're just starting things off here. Oxygen, let's analyze what they're up to. They've got a roam above the site, Kino, and I think that's Laxing by Piano. Yeah, duo roam above. Vertical's going to take some damage as he falls back deeper into sight. I like how we're seeing Dining being brought out as the first site here. It's always interesting to see the site selection on this map. This site is not the most successful, not the least. It's the most popular, though, so far through the NAL Stage 2.
Kind of cool how Kino has opted to rearrange top floor a little bit to serve his needs. He can work through a lot of different kill holes or rotations, but he's knocked, I think, about 3 drones out in the past couple of seconds, and a minute gone. Foxay claims the first frag, and down goes Bosco. No more line, only one of those charges utilized before he's taken out of the fray, and now it will mean that OXG have a much easier time attempting to stall for time 1 floor above the bomb site. They've got a lot of stuff going on in Master, but I think it's just, is it only Kino situated Master side? I think he is.
I think he's got assistance from Laxing. I'm not sure, though. We do have another C4 set up here for the big window. I think it's the same exact C4 angle that was used to get the first kill. Yaga will also get another kill. That's Rampy on the floor now. So great start for Oxygen, as their stalwart hold upstairs on this roam works out perfectly. Yaga will take a lot of damage from that Goyo, though. Nice shot from Foxay all the way from downtown. He lands a clean headshot onto Thinking Nade. Fultz and Houghton now, the last 2 attackers. They've got plenty of time to work with. But this man disadvantage seems irrecoverable.
I think right now, OXG don't even need to worry about a rotate from the top floor if they don't want to. They could just keep Kino up in Master. He doesn't have to fall back. They've already got man advantage. They don't have to worry about it too much. And Vertical is simply going to make things even harder for Fultz to contend with. No more Hot and Cold. Can Fultz maybe find 1 kill on his way out of the round? Not sure. We've seen crazier things happen, but I don't think Fultz has a chance in this one.
Really, it comes down to a great lockout on top floor. And you could see the way that Oxygen set up their structure specifically to counter the clear that was anticipated from SSG. So we saw the big window repel. We saw the clear in from Solarium. Oxygen was ready for that. They were well prepared. The C4s from below inside of Kitchen, those were masterful. They even had 2 for contingency, just in case the first one misses, or if someone else gets on big window. And I love the way Oxygen played that. I really do. Great counter to what they were looking forward to. Look at what they were expecting. Words are hard.
It's one of those cases where even though you get a kill, it's you got it with a nitro cell, and Spacestation don't have a way to necessarily fix that. If it was, it's a refrag situation, then maybe SSG could have acted upon it, but OXG got it with an explosive in a position where SSG simply didn't have a player who could rotate back fast enough to find a kill, and then they lost another body only about 20 seconds later. So that's 2 big frags, and SSG aren't able to lock anyone else down, and OXG lock out the bomb site. They lock top floor, they lock everything. I need to find a different, that's a nice buzzword. I like the word lock.
Lock, but lockout is when I use that frankly too much.
Thesaurus.com. What else can we find?
I'm still, frankly, sorry about tripping over myself earlier. Right now, I'm still trying to dial it back from what we just had. I'm still trying to. It's not like calm down's the wrong word, the wrong phrase, I guess. I'm just trying to slow down, and it's.
Did you give yourself a headache? Were you like red in the face? I was listening to you. You sounded red in the face.
I'm red in the face, but I'm still red in the face. But I'm not. No headache. I'm just trying to slow down.
I didn't know we were going to start your Joker rock here on this broadcast specifically.
I saw that tweet.
Yeah.
There were a lot of them. Anyway, okay. Focusing on the here and now. So we've seen some really excellent quality hold from Oxygen so far. Solid counterplay specifically set up to deal with Space Station's execute. Now, Space Station is going to be a team that can recover from that. So this is not all over. It's not necessarily going to be indicative of future rounds. We've got now a bar defense. This is one of those more sought after sites. We see this one a lot. How exactly will Space Station address this? Because that will show us what counterplay Oxygen has in store.
Foxay heading downstairs. He's already taken a little HP out, but the drone work will probably force him right back up. Yep, and I think SSG will be able to maintain bottom floor control for the moment. Foxay, he might be the one in a pretty precarious spot. I think SSG do want to root him out first. He still has a nitro, so he is deadly as all hell, but he will get back to the bomb site just fine. So SSG, they're coming at this from a couple different places. They've got a Zoph who's about to, he's just going to watch library window from the roof, so he can vault in whenever he feels like it, but I know he's waiting for a cross. This guy's mentioned that position on the very top of library stairs with the shield is such a difficult thing to clear. Rampy is just providing a little bit of pressure and making sure no one roams or gets too far away from it. But SSG are also trying to push out from the bottom floor as well, which is where Hot and Cold was situated from garage. So it could be both of those angles is what SSG picks, but OXG aren't really getting into any engagements. They're not getting aggressive in their own right because they don't have to yet.
Yeah, notice how we even have these aggressive positioning, but no actual engagement yet. Oh, he sees the backpack, and there's the kill. Fultz takes the Frost and the Frost Mat out of play. Fultz getting control here by Mud, and the man advantage. Oh, almost getting punished by the swing from Vertical. What a brazen play from Vertical, but he doesn't get what he wants. Some damage done, though. That is worth something. Laxing also wasn't an extended roam, but he's fallen back as the time is starting to dwindle here for SSG. That drone will spot Vertical, but he's still just taking the fight. Straight up. Doesn't even care that his position is known because he's got the Goyo shield to cover the retreat. The fire goes downstairs. How does that happen? What is that game? The fire teleports downstairs, and Hot and Cold will get a freebie off the nade onto backstairs. Laxing will go down and join him in the grave. Kino and Foxay, the last 2 defenders now. And it's the mirror image of the last round as we see the opposite but similar result.
I didn't think that was going to happen either. I figured the fire will just stay on one part of the stairs, but it traps Vert and he can't go anywhere, and it's the nade that takes him down. This is looking like deja vu of the previous round, but in the complete opposite direction. A 5v1 now as OXG is trying to hold out, but it's only Foxay all by his lonesome. He can't do what Fultz did last round and get 1 kill before the round ends. Instead, it's a flawless from SSG, and it ties us right up.
So I guess the fire is a type of Molotov, right? So it's I guess it might have splashed down there. I don't
Maybe.
really...
Would that have happened if it was a Capital bolt as it expands
I don't
slowly and falls to
know.
the stairs? That's interesting.
I don't know. I don't typically see fire do that right there.
Right.
It
Bounced.
Yeah, it kind of like bounced or fell or... Well, it's done now. Obviously, big punish there in Avert. Space Station, so giving us, like we just discussed, really clean round the first round for Oxygen, really clean round the second round for Space Station. Very different results.
Attackers need to locate
The overall play from Oxygen was considerably less aggressive. I think we can agree on that, Jacob?
Mm-hmm.
We saw none of that cheeky C4 play. We saw positioning be aggressive, but no active fights taken from Oxygen. They set themselves up in aggro spots and weren't able to use those to get the fights that they wanted, resulting in Space Station punishing them and turning that into an absolute snowball.
When it was Vertical who was top library stairs,
Yes.
I want to say Laxing was also upstairs for a certain set of time, but he was the only thing that was...
He was.
aiding Vertical on the top floor because everyone else on Oxygen was spread out pretty considerably, but it still did take SSG a pretty, I want to say 2 minutes until they finally got to Vertical, took the shield down, and then that's where that debacle on the staircase happened. So the stalling game for OXG could have been better maybe if they positioned more utility or another player on the top floor, because that seemed like most of where SSG wanted to push from. Once they had that entire staircase, then they funnel right into games room, go for a plant, and the rest is essentially history because it was a 5v1 at that stage. Decent plan for OXG, but there could have been more to stall SSG for time.
Yeah, there certainly could have been. Seems like that's a priority in this round, as Kino has set himself up by Solarium. Very dangerous position to play just above the Solarium stairs there. As you've got potential for a nade from below. Hard to counter that. Drone will call out his spot, and Kino will fall back as a result. That's the right call. Now, this is a clearly Solarium-focused defensive setup, which opens up opportunities for Space Station, because when you have your shields, your ADSs, and so on set up specifically to counter the Solarium, yeah, the attack can shift to the other side if they figure that out. And if Space Station is quick enough, they'll be able to punish this setup from Oxygen, but there's no guarantee of that either. West lobby pressure coming in here as the Vault comes in from hot and cold. He's positioned himself inside of Trophy. This position is huge for his team. He can open up a crossfire on the players roaming below in Kitchen, and he's doing just that with Fultz from West Lobby. Nades going in, stuns going in, all the things to try and dislodge these roamers downstairs, but Foxay and Vertical have managed to persist regardless of all the pressure being felt. Finally, Space Station's drones start coming in, and that's the ticket. Houghton gets the kill through the wall, nade for the second, but Vertical makes it out of there with his life, at least for now. You can see the cutoff is coming, though, and it's so well read from Vertical. Fultz goes down, and that's the only ray of sunshine for Oxygen, as more kills are grabbed by Space Station's control over by Trophy.
Already beginning to look a little futile. Vertical can still go for plays downstairs, but everyone from SSG is already swarmed Trophy. They want this plant. The cross is held. Hot and Cold still applying the pressure perfectly through the holes that OXG themselves simply couldn't counter, and it's all on Laxing, on the bomb site, and the rest of the team can now storm from Trophy through into Solarium. Fultz being down isn't a problem because everyone is either north side or on the window rappel, and that is where the Zofia... No, sorry, not the Zofia. One is still situated on that crossfire. Laxing can move in, but no chance to get even one kill on his way back out. That's 2 straight for Space Station, where it looks absolutely dominant.
I just gotta take a second. That is one of the fastest adaptations I've seen in a while, at least today. And I'll pick that apart for everybody who's watching right now to kind of give you an understanding of what just happened there. Space Station, first round, same site. They're dealing with a serious, or not same site, but similar setup. They're dealing with a very serious problem when it comes to the way that Oxygen has set up to counter the play. Oxygen brings the same defensive strategy regardless of defending a different site, in that they focus a lot of their effort upstairs with the C4 coming from below. Oxygen's trying to do some very similar stuff with more obviously heavier presence on the top floor because it's, the top floor is the site now. But Space Station deal with those roamers below, knowing that they are going to be a problem in the long run, which is true. That was a C4 from a Valkyrie downstairs that could have ended up being a serious issue. It was probably going to be the same big window C4 that would have caught your cut player off guard. So Space Station, deal with that issue downstairs. Oxygen rotate to address it, but lose too many bodies in the process. And at that point, it's already a Space Station round. Space Station flawlessly translate that into a round win by not overstepping their bounds, by not getting too fast, and just take their advantage, take their control, and slow walk it into a round win. Oxygen prompted to bring in a tactical timeout there, and I think that's the right time to do it. You got to correct course.
I was just about to say, the timing seems kind of interesting because that's round 3. Already, OXG have identified that adaptation as something they can't contend with any more than simply the 2 rounds that SSG have won. That's already problematic to them. They could have opted to use or save that timeout for way later in the match, but they're using it on the 3rd round because it's just that concerning the way that SSG is playing around them. And OXG, like you mentioned, they did try to adapt in their own right, but it came while they lost too many players simply making basic rotations. That's kind of an issue. I think OXG had the right idea. It was just SSG decided we can hold crosses better than anybody else. Hot and Cold, who we were spectating most specifically, had the pressure from Trophy. He was watching Kitchen in the hallway almost by his lonesome, and then by the time they're ready to make their push up to site to get a plant down, he's right there, finds the final kill. Hot and Cold has definitely been the difference maker we've expected from this game.
Now, yeah, what I've seen here, and this is frankly just conjecture because I'm not on the team, but what I'm seeing here is that Oxygen has isolated the top floor and dining as their 2 favorite sites, and that they set up a type of strategy that works for both of them. They're trying to make that work all the time. It's like you'll notice it's happening here yet again. It's dining, but they're going to be playing above and below. And when it's above, they're playing above and below is all the same. It's just what the focus is slightly different, but it's a very similar strat. And I like that Oxygen is trying to isolate a particular part of the map to refine it for their play. That's why they took the tactical timeout, because they so one-sidedly lost that last round. And I'm guessing they put a lot more emphasis on planning around these sites, and they expected to have better results. So going into this round, they've now figured out what they want to do because they had that timeout. And they're going to be able to adjust. Kino will take some damage. It's the wall being opened up there, but it's Yaga to truly be punished as he is shut down by Houghton. That's going to be a good start for Space Station already. The Lion is making adjustment very difficult. And there's no re to follow up that initial kill. That's why the Lion came out, is to prevent the refrag. And it was successful in that endeavor.
Refrags haven't been a very common thing in this game so far at all. It's been very decisive rounds. Whether it be SSG or OXG winning, it's a landslide one way or the other. So refrags simply don't really... They're not the name of the game so far. It can translate that way as we progress, but for the moment, it's still a problem for the team that loses a body first, and it's an utter landslide in the favor of the team that gets that opening kill, and there's nothing that teams can really do to adjust for it for the moment. Fultz wants an angle. There's 2 kills so close if someone from OXG just gives him a peek, but the Goyo's not going to give it to him, and neither is the Mute. Fultz will still hold it. Oh, he does finally see it. Laxing's not looking to his left. Suddenly, the landslide's happening again. OXG are losing bodies one after the other, and there's no way that they can get it back. Vert will still want this Nitro Cell kill if he can get it. There are 2 that remain now for OXG, but Space Station just looked like they're swarming quickly.
Yeah, this is yet again going to be a Space Station round unless these 3 remaining players on Oxygen can work some miracles. It's certainly possible, though unlikely. As you can see, Space Station are continuing their trend of taking it slowly, using their time to the fullest ability, and to their fullest ability, pardon me, and translating this advantage into a true win. They are going to lose some health, though, and as Rampy starts peeking in, it gets a little bit worse, but overall better. Flank from downstairs, Houghton will get Fox A, and Kino will get 1. Nice shot through the little hole in the wall. He needs to find 4 more, though. It's not very likely, and he'll be shut down by Hot and Cold. Methodical is the word that comes to mind here, Jacob.
That's 1 round for OXG where it was a 5 versus 1, and SSG on every single round since have either forced a 5v1 or a 4v1 in their favor. They looked at what OXG did and said, yeah, we like having this kind of firm man count advantage. Now, granted, it is Chalet, at least from a win rate point of view, which is something we haven't touched on just yet. Chalet does have a 53% win rate overall, not counting these rounds before this game.
For the defenders.
For the defenders so far in stage 2. So it's not so much that it's like the attacker favored map or the one that can swing that way that we've kind of attributed to it. So like when it first came into the pool, we were like, oh, like it seems like attackers have a lot more leeway on a map like this. I didn't immediately assume that OXG were going to be down this bad, but it's not that they're losing 3-1, it's that they're losing 3-1, and they are allowing Spacestation to get kill after kill after kill with no response. That's the single most worrying thing to me. SSG's attacks have looked so well thought out, and like you mentioned from the previous round, the adaptation that SSG shows when they need to is much faster than Oxygen's just all around.
It's tricky because it's this on the fly, able to address the problems as they present themselves type play we're seeing from Spacestation, versus the very structured and well thought out, yet still adaptable type play that we're seeing from Oxygen. It's two very viable philosophies for how to address strategy and siege, clashing currently. And right now we're seeing the advantage leaning towards Spacestation, but there's still time for that to change. The biggest flaw I'm seeing for Oxygen is that clearly their idea behind their defense on top floor over by Master and Dining, that whole, this is gonna be our home, this is where we're gonna win our rounds, that idea, and that makes sense, it's new, this is a new map still. They're trying to pave their own way. It's not working, which puts them on the back foot for the first half. They'll now try to translate a bar to a win, that's very possible. They're gonna definitely need to be able to get at least one other win on this first half, or there's gonna be problems, and without their bedrock that they were planning on having on those other two sites, it's not gonna be easy.
Laxing all the way back in Master will maintain the same position that he had last time Oxygen defended this site, as will Vert, still sticking to the blue shield. Fox A remaining on the bomb site, and SSG seems like they have the same checklist that they have to run through for when OXG were on bar games last time. The same number of players to clear out. OXG haven't put any more bodies back upstairs. They do have a Kite Electroclaw, so at least dropping back through the hatch won't be a possibility, but it's a pretty similar situation. Hot and Cole can burst right into bar and start finding these picks early. He's all by himself inside. He knows there's someone back through the doorway, but at least for right now, he's not being given any space to work with. Kino's life is in such peril right now, and he probably has no idea of the angle that Hot and Cold's holding inside. But already, bar control, it's not been firmly established. It's just Hot and Cold by himself. Can he maintain this? Kino looks at the wrong second. Here comes another swing, and Vertical will finally win it out. So Hot and Cold, that problem's been dealt with. That's a nice way to start things off. Now SSG, how do you work without your sledge? Your vertical control has already been pretty much relinquished. Vertical wants even more blood.
Here's the vault in from Rampy with the Candelas to make Laxing not able to fight back. Beautiful play there from Rampy, and it nets the kill that he was looking for. Still a minute left for Spacestation to work this site. Yaga getting aggressive because he's a man down, and that'll make his team another man down, putting Oxygen on a serious back foot. Vertical's the last alive in Mudroom, and really not a realistic scenario for a win here. Spacestation are once again winning these rounds with much time to spare. Vertical goes for the peak, but can't outduel Faults, and there it is. Spacestation. What a round. So much to dissect there, Jacob.
There's a lot. I don't want to focus on the fact that it was another 4 versus 1, because at this point, if I beat that point into the ground, it's just going to be... It's too much rehashing. There's a lot to look at from that round. It again, seems like it's more of a positional problem for OXG. Hot and Cold rushes in sight. We'll focus on that first. He gets bar control. He's hiding behind the shield. He's looking for maybe 1 to 2 picks, but already just the fact that Hot and Cold is inside bar means OXG need to look around for where this one guy is. They get the call. Kino looks... He doesn't find the kill. It turns into Mozzie sprinting over and finding it himself, but that exposes his position, and he can't get back to cover accordingly, and it just seems like it falls apart bit by bit as a result. Losing bodies because of the vertical play. Everything directly above the site has already been surrendered. Library control is firmly in SSG's control with only about 45 seconds left, but OXG are so disjointed in where they're supposed to be playing, they can't find cover, and SSG picks them off one by one, and now here we sit with 4 unanswered rounds from Spacestation after OXG's opener.
What I want to focus on from that last round briefly, before we move on, is the multi-pronged nature of Spacestation's attacks. So Hot and Cold being in sight there, what was that? Was that planned? Likely not. That was more than likely an opportunity seen and seized by Hot and Cold, but it was one that was facilitated by the rest of SSG. You'll note that Hot and Cold was not worried about his hallway behind him. He was not worried about being flanked from main lobby because his teammates had that covered. They had the lockup. There was no reason for Hot and Cold to focus on anything other than bar back storage and billiards. That is good teamwork because it probably wasn't part of the main strategy. And yet, when the opportunity arose, Hot and Cold saw it, seized it, and his team facilitated. That is great teamwork. Further, after it didn't work out, Hot did die. He was retaken on. Spacestation did not lose the round. They didn't rush in to get the refrags. They knew they still had good positional advantage. They knew they still had the ability to make their man advantage even better. And they focused on that instead. They didn't get fixated nor tunnel visioned. That is peak assault right there. That is how you attack in Siege. It's good stuff from Spacestation.
Something tells me that if we saw this current OXG team try to do something similar, I don't really know if it would have worked out. Like, using the space created by the rest of your team to move in probably wouldn't have been met with the same result. Here comes Fultz. Almost every single grenade from the Lifeline launcher used, and all of a sudden, Rampy's affecting quick entry. Hot and Cold and the rest of the team are already in the midst of a post plant, and there's only a minute gone. A 4v4 as Kino attempts to retake, but there's no chance. Diffuser's already down. OXG look like they're already beginning to surge back towards site. SSG might have been caught with their pants down, but it looks like they still have the crossfires they need. Rampy and thinking that on such little HP, Kino can swing back in. Plants down right underneath big window, but there's still one back behind half wall to work over. Kino's not looking that way, but he'll move right in uncontested, thinking they will still take him down. 2 versus 2 now. Everyone's dying in that kill feed. It's continuing to get harder and harder for OXG to retake as the time continues to dwindle. Vertical wants this defuse. Rampy's gonna move right in. Does Fox say have the counter? No! He'll swing instead. Fultz and Rampy clock OXG on a quick rush, and it's 5-1 for Spacestation.
Diversity, unpredictability. Spacestation are bringing us masterclass attacks through Solarium or below when assaulting the top floor master bedroom. Now, despite the solid nature of the attacks we've been seeing from Spacestation, the regular stuff that they've been bringing to this site, they decide in that round to bring a pocket strategy out of nowhere. Despite they're not down, they don't need it. But they bring out that pocket strat to further hammer home their lead. And that is the exact right answer. When you start to become predictable, it's exactly when you bring stuff like that out to try and further your lead. It worked just as it should. Spacestation, Candela's, smokes, and a beautiful crossfire setup from other locations. We had players on Bathroom Window. We had players from Solarium. Spacestation are applying the pressure while going for the execute into sight. And it catches Oxygen off guard that the plant's even going down. I don't think they knew until it was post-plant. Sow chaos. Facilitate the plant. Play the post. That was the extent of the strategy there from Spacestation. But because it was so simple, it worked. Oxygen are looking for the pick-apart strats that Spacestation have been bringing from earlier in this match. That's not what Spacestation gave them. The craziest thing about this, Jacob, is that Oxygen are such an insanely talented team, and they are doing so well through this stage, and yet they are still being counterplayed.
I don't want to say it completely falls in line with this point, but one thing I was a little interested in was how teams that went to the Invitational were going to translate their Stage 2 performance. Like, are they going to be playing the exact same? Will they make efforts to change things? Teams like TSM have definitely changed up most things about the way that they play. And teams like Spacestation had massive things to deal with because they don't have Troy, they don't have Luke, and they're working with a brand new player. But this kind of play, where it's not the same thing round in, round out, and you don't become predictable, like you mentioned, is a really refreshing thing to see from Spacestation because they've kind of been stuck in a rut figuring out what to do for the past 3 months. This performance overall, and not just in this game, harken back to the Mirage game that we had last week where it looked very similar. It's just SSG's back, baby. This looks phenomenal so far.
It does certainly look good, Jacob. Liking what I'm seeing here from Spacestation. Similarly, I'm actually liking what I'm seeing from Oxygen too. I know it's not reflected in the scores currently, but they are not giving us bad siege. This is solid setup. This is solid play, despite being so harshly countered by Spacestation so far. Now, second half makes all the difference. It's Oxygen's turn to attack. We'll see how they can manage things here. Right now, it is a bar defense for Space Station. Library is the focus for both of these teams. They're going to have to deal with these shields by chimney and back stairs, top of back stairs, where Thinking Nade happens to be playing right now. These two shields make a crossfire that's really hard to deal with. And you can see Oxygen doesn't even want to come from the master side or the office side because of those shields. They're going to try and address from different locations. Yaga's the only one here. And he's looking for an opportunity. He's presented with one, but he'll miss. Vertical vaults into Library, but is punished by a Frost Mat. That's not a good sign. Meanwhile, the kills are going out, but look at this. Laxing gets a double, and he brings his team right back into it. They were out of this round, essentially, but finally Laxing gets shut down. Fultz gets a 2-piece for himself, and Bosco, the final kill on the player, encroaching into sight. Wow. Well, we're on, I think we're on match point already, Jacob.
That was quick. I was looking for a way to get in edgewise, but it seems like SSG is making my job easy for me. No,
it just kept going. It just kept going.
It did. It was one after the other. I mean, hey, Laxing found the scoreboard finally. His first 2 kills came on round 7. So at least it doesn't end with a donut. But that's the only real positive, I think, for OXG. Space Station held down, like you mentioned, those 2 shields, the one in Fireplace and the one in Blue, really, really damn well. Aruni in Library was also a massive factor. 2 kills at the back end, forcing Yaga off of Piano Double as well. When Yaga vaults into Piano Window and tries to go for a pick, all of a sudden, Aruni's there. Hot and Cold just says, nope, bye-bye, go away. And Yaga can't push from that same doorway anymore because there's 3 players situated for SSG upstairs. Like, OXG didn't have that many people when they were defending a bomb site like this. If they were defending anything on a first floor, whether it be games or dining, they usually only had 2. It was a vertical and Laxing setup 90% of the time, but SSG put 3 players upstairs, and that does make all the difference. It's 1 more gun, it's additional utility, and they have players from downstairs who can also help to rotate, you know, if they want to make a long one up through Solarium to affect pressure from the opposite side of the map, where OXG simply can't force the shields out of position. So SSG do a really good job maintaining a hold of the way they've rearranged the map. Those 2 shields was really all they needed.
Yeah. And I like that Oxygen at least tried to... A lot of teams waste a lot of time dealing with those shields, right? Oxygen just goes somewhere else. At least they tried. I like that they tried. I so often see teams throw themselves haphazardly at those shields and just... Clock's gone. You lose a bunch of bodies in the process. Even if you get the control, it doesn't amount to very much. So Oxygen tried something different. It didn't work. Maybe this next round we'll see a different result. But Space Station are putting up a masterclass in Siege right now. I do want to hammer that home. This does not necessarily reflect poorly on Oxygen. This reflects well on Space Station. Foxay will punish Fultz in bar. And with the leadoff kill, especially on a player like Fultz, who has one of the best performances so far through this match, Oxygen are slated to take maybe this round. That's a big kill. It's going to be the rest of Space Station who have to pick up the slack.
If I'm not mistaken, I think every team who's gotten the opening pick has gone on to win the round in this game. It's a stat that I know. Jesse can definitely correct me on that because it's something he loves to talk about behind the scenes. Okay. But because we've been seeing these crazy landslides of one team getting the opening pick and then every other kill afterwards, we'll see if it maintains. Rampy gets a beautiful swing, and Foxay, for the early pressure he created downstairs, won't be able to get any more than that opening kill. It's a trade. It comes late, but OXG still need to maintain something. That one kill can't be the only thing you get in this round, but they've already got most of top floor, with the exception of Master and Office. Still 1 player in each room left to deal with. There's still time, though. 1 minute and 30 seconds is plenty of real estate.
Next step is opening up box. It's not easy, though, as you've got to get the mute jammer from below, or the Kaid in this case. No mute in play. Kaid eliminated, Kaid destroyed, I think is more apt. The wall will now be opened up by the Habana. Ooh, vault in, very dangerous. Oh, Kino wins that one, though. We were comparing these 2 players in the advent of this match, and it's Kino to take the advantage in that fight. Vertical will also get Rampy with a nade. And now, Space Station on a serious back foot. Yaga down. Can't pick himself up anymore. Could be another. There it is! Ooh. Thinking nade with 2 very influential shots landed there. And he's going to get away, too, as the nade will miss. Yaga will be recovered, but left with only 20 HP, it will be difficult for him to win future gunfights. This round, which was clear advantage for Oxygen for a while there, has started to slip away from their grasp.
SSG absolutely have a win condition here, and it's just continuing to stop the plant from going down. It's been recovered. The diffuser was down outside. Yaga will be the one to claim it, but there's a nitro cell and still 2 toxic babes left up. Bosco, that's one of the best damn smoke players in the world right there. And if you're putting the diffuser in the hands of someone like Yaga, who simply doesn't have a lot of HP,
TikTok.
this might go down very quickly. 20 seconds remaining. Vertical still hunting, thinking Nade downstairs. At the very least, Nade can't use the nitro, but it's still wasting so much time Vertical could be spending elsewhere. Everyone from OXG is now downstairs. The plant needs to come in the next couple of seconds, but it doesn't look like it will. Bosco gets a Mossberg off, and all of a sudden, a 1 versus 1. Vertical needs to grab diffuser. That's all she wrote. SSG stall the plant. A perfectly situated 2v4. They claim Chalet when no one thought it would be this dominant. And Space Station's role continues in stage 2.
Well, Space Station gave us a masterclass in Siege. I said it earlier, I'll regurgitate it now. It's true. And that was a very well played match from SSG. And you could see that reflected on their faces right now. Rightfully so, they earned that jubilation. The reason why I say that was a masterclass is because they're playing against Oxygen, a team that has been playing so well through this stage. And they're playing on a new map, which offers a lot of opportunities for teams to pave their own way. And what makes it so special for Space Station is that Oxygen did just that. Oxygen came to that match prepared. I liked what I saw from Oxygen in terms of their setups, in terms of the way they were treating especially the Master and Dining setups. Beautiful stuff. Oxygen are doing things differently. They're doing things their way. That's great. And it didn't work. Or it did, sorry. It worked for 1 round. And then it didn't work at all because Space Station read it like a book, played around it, and countered their opponent perfectly.
This is an OXG team that was first place in stage 1 and had a really good run at the Invitational. I don't think anyone thought 7th or 8th place, I believe, was their placement, was as far as they were going to go. But now we're beginning to see a lot of teams either countering OXG, I think, directly or simply playing more into their own style of Rainbow Six that OXG simply haven't had a really good counter for. Like, even the fact that they started off stage 1 by going 8-7 to Beast Coast, it doesn't set the greatest trend for OXG for the rest of the stage. Ultimately, though, for Space Station, hats off to you for being able to clean both OXG and Mirage's clock like that. Was it 14-2 over both maps? It's insane what this team is looking like so quickly. I'm really, really proud of this guy's development.
Well, that's it for Jacob and I. And can I just say, Jacob, congratulations on your first T1 casts. You did great.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that the matches were like they were not exactly ideal situation for you, but you did fantastic given the circumstances. So good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be back with some more Siege after this